This vlog is brought to you by Curious Cat. A little while ago someone asked me to talk about how I got into anime, and I only just got around to doing it. I've kind of already talked about some of this here or there, but just to go back to sort of the beginning, I would say what sort of laid the groundwork for me getting into anime was probably Power Rangers, since I was super into that as a kid. And really, it does have so many of it's very over the top. It's it's a big action deal, and I think that set a lot of the groundwork for, what I would like in the future, because the next big point was, actually no, it would have been Pokemon, wouldn't it have been? Which, I did like the anime of Pokemon, but I liked everything, because Pokemon was just massive. I was in 2nd grade when it was really starting to catch on, and holy shit, it was a big deal. The trading cards, the games, the show, the merchandise, the endless merchandise and toys, and the movie. The movie was oh my god, I remember crying my fucking eyes out at the end when Ash almost died. Goddamn. The whole theater was just ruined. I think we went for a big birthday party thing with a dozen kids and a few parents, including my mom. Yeah, I guess with Power Rangers, I watched it up to Dino Thunder, give or take. I swear to fucking God, I never finished a season. I would always miss the last few episodes. I remember seeing the preview for the climax of Wild Force, but never actually being able to watch it. So I think the only Power Rangers season I've 100% watched to completion was Power Rangers RPM, which is actually good. And I remember watching that one because I heard it was good online. Because that was after a few seasons of not even touching it, like Power Rangers. There was a few I just never saw any of. Because by then I'd just stopped watching a lot of TV and I was on the computer. So I watched RPM online. But with Pokemon I'm still into. I've played every generation. With Pokemon, I think, because a lot of people who started Pokemon in first generation, they have a lot of nostalgia for it. They generally say generations 1 or 2 is the best, especially 2. But with me personally, in 4th generation, for me personally, there was a resurgence, sort of, because I was in high school, and I had a bunch of friends, or as friends, we were all nerds. We didn't care what we liked, we just liked it, and we liked a lot of the same things. So, we had our Yu-Gi-Oh table, where we'd play Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then, but then when Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out, it became the Pokemon table. Everyone was playing Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and it was really fun. Even though, looking back, I feel Diamond and Pearl, especially those first iterations, are some of the least good Pokemon games. Platinum, was better, and a lot of people like Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But just the fact that, it was just, it was a community thing again. It wasn't just me playing it alone, which might have hindered my interest in it. So I think that allowed my interest in Pokemon to sustain longer than it might have otherwise, because I do my favorite generation would probably be 5th generation. And, Moon was pretty fun for what it was. I didn't get Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon because they barely seem to have changed anything. But I'll probably get the next generation because, yeah. But I guess after Pokemon, or around the same time, because that was when you started getting these, Saturday morning anime, like Digimon. That was another one I watched a bunch. Not in ages, because the last season of it, I think Digimon Frontier, the 4th one, same thing happened again, where they're we're gonna air the last couple episodes, and then they suddenly stopped showing in that time slot, and me and my brother were so disappointed, because we were so close. We'd watched half the show, and we were almost to the end, and they didn't finish it. Dragon Ball, of course, though that was more of an afternoon thing. We watched Sailor Moon before, mostly just to kill time until Dragon Ball was on, and that was a huge deal. Though, because again, that was a multimedia thing with the games, because we played a bunch of those, so I didn't actually fully experience all of Dragon Ball, including, the previous, the Piccolo and Red Ribbon Army stuff, until I read the manga a few years later. But, God, okay, how many fucking Saturday of those early shows? Okay, there was the Kirby, Right Back at Ya. There was Fighting Foodons. Oh, they turned everything into a proxy battle thing, because Pokemon was huge, I guess. I don't know what its original Japanese name was. I never got into Monster Rancher, but I knew it existed. But yeah, at this point, I still wasn't quite into anime. Because I watched a lot of TV. I watched everything. Or at least it felt like I watched everything. It was mostly cartoons, not just because I necessarily liked them better, just because there were more of them available. But I think the part that really started to change was with One Piece in more of the mid-2000s, or where, I read the manga, or I read a couple chapters from a borrowed issue. I already talked about this. I read a couple chapters in a borrowed issue of Shonen Jump. Then I started watching the 4Kids dub, and I thought it was good. Then I found it online because the 4Kids dub was weird, and I realized why after watching it online. And I got into One Piece really hard. I watched about 400 episodes of it, but what I really got into more, I think, was manga. I'm gonna include it on the screen. Alright, there's a link in the description too. But I think aside from One Piece, I had this image of recommended manga. Like, this is old as fuck. And I ended up reading quite a few series that were on here. I mean, not quite a few. Like, I wonder if let me count, actually. 44. I count 44 out of more than that. But, yeah, I've read, or at least tried to read 44 of these manga since. Not all of them because they were on the list. Some of them just by chance, but, I remember in particular I was actually the idea was like, oh, row by row, I'm going to go down and I'm going to read all of these. I don't think Barefoot Gen was ever scanned, or at least I watched the movie already, so I didn't feel a particular drive to go after that one. Yeah, I did actually finish the first 2 rows. And yeah, the first 2 rows out of like 10. So it's actually funny because I think if you look at my My Animalist page, it's still, because it's in alphabetical order and I read the first 2 rows, so I think I still have a proportionally large ratio of like A and B named works related, just because I read all these recommended ones. And so, but yeah, I found some of my favorites here, like Boku no Ashita no Joe, Blackjack, Arya's pretty good, Akira, I own Akira, 20th Century Boys, Pluto. Like, I feel like most of my favorites are somewhere on here. And some I don't really care for that much. Like, I remember not liking Team Medical Dragon at all. I think I picked it up because of Blackjack and Frankenfran, because those are medical manga, and I was like, oh, this is medical manga, but I kind of hated it. Did I hate it? I don't know. I know I dropped it, and I generally found it not very good. Maybe it's good. I don't know. Haven't read it in like fucking 8 years, give or take. And yeah, this is also dated as fuck. Like, I know, like, Karakuri Circus has had it's completed. The manga's finished, but it's had on and off translations for years. I remember that one in particular because I really liked it, but it wasn't fully translated, so I was always in agony about that. I even read the mangaka's other series, Ushi on Tora, which was fully translated and it was good. Karakuri Circus still isn't fucking translated, like, 15 years later? Not 15. No, that, more like 10, but goddamn. And I did reread it, and it's not as good as I remember. But anyway, back to manga in, like, high school, and sort of how that informed my opinion of anime in general is that, like, I liked a lot of manga, like 20th Century Boys, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, One Piece, Liar Game, those were some of my favorites. I think I maybe read 20th Century Boys a little later, but still, the conclusion I came to and kept until around 2012 was that anime wasn't good, because all original anime were only okay, and adaptions were just not as good as the source material, because JoJo didn't have a good adaptation yet. It was until 2012. The One Piece anime was alright, but still not as good as the manga, and it was only getting worse. And stuff like 20th Century Boys and Liar Game never got, they got live action, like the 20th Century Boys got a film trilogy, I think, and Liar Game got a live action drama series. I didn't watch either of them, because I was even less interested in, manga, random television, which faded off after a while, and video games. But lots of video games, that was the other thing. But even then I say lots, but I don't know. I didn't have a lot of money, so. And yeah, I think I remember watching around 2010, I think, or maybe a little earlier, I watched Gurren Lagann, and it had been super popular for years. Like, I'd been on 4chan since 2007. I'd been on 4chan since 2007 when it aired, and it had basically been a pretty big deal ever since. So I sort of, and it had a manga, but the anime was the real draw. And so I remember watching it, and I was like, it's okay. I give it like a 7 out of 10. So, I could stand to rewatch it, just saying, Best Guy Ever's, Gurren Lagann video was good, but, not that I didn't like Gurren Lagann, I just thought it was okay, but then my perception was also like, this is one of the best original anime, and it's just okay, so this whole medium of anime has nothing to offer to me, and past me was a fucking idiot. I feel like I talked about this somewhere before, but I don't remember. So you're getting it again. But, so anyway, what eventually changed that was, the 3 series I remember were Nichijou, Tiger and Bunny, and Daily Lives of High School Boys. I remember those because for Nichijou, about 50 chapters were translated, but that was only like 13 episodes of the 26 episode anime. Tiger and Bunny, it was like manga advertisement for the anime series, and only like 3 chapters were translated. And with Daily Lives of High School Boys, I remember reading a few chapters of that, and then, because what had happened was with Nichijou and Tiger and Bunny, I recognized that these manga were incomplete compared to what was translated of the anime, because with Nichijou I'd seen some clips of it on YouTube, and some were, of chapters that I hadn't read because they weren't in English. And then Tiger and Bunny was obviously not 26 episodes worth of content. So I decided to watch them, and I enjoyed both of them quite a bit. And I was like, anime. And I remember with Daily Lives of High School Boys in particular, I started reading a couple chapters, and there was more to read. I just kind of went, wait, the anime's going, right, like this was as Daily Life of High School Boys was airing in winter 2012. And so I decided to watch it, and I caught up around episode 10 and watched 11 and 12 as they came out, and they were good. And so this is 2012, and this is finally when I get into anime. So I don't know how long we're into the video, but this is when I got into anime. So like I think a lot of people have nostalgia when it comes to anime. They have a lot of nostalgia for like the Saturday morning and afternoon series, those late 90s, early 2000s stuff like Dragon Ball and Cardcaptor Sakura and Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh my fuck, I didn't mention Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Thought it was the best shit ever. Played the card game a lot. Eventually got out of both the show and the card game. There's my abridged history with Yu-Gi-Oh! But anyway, yeah, nostalgia. And of course, see, Toonami, yeah, I never really got into Toonami. Like, I was a good boy. I went to bed when I was supposed to. Before like Adult Swim would have come on. So I didn't watch Cowboy Bebop until much later. I didn't watch Trigun, Outlaw Star. I still haven't seen Trigun. Big O I watched later. I'm trying to think if there's any other. There's a lot of Adult Swim shows I missed, but I'm trying to think of like the big anime people remember from that block. And yeah, I don't really remember off the top of my head. I did start watching Toonami later, but that was when it was more of a Saturday night kind of thing. Like they were showing. I remember watching some of the fucking One Piece. I tuned in to see if the 4Kids dub, what was going on there, and it was in Alabasta, and it was awful, and I hated it. And then I did watch some of the Funimation dub too, but I think I talked about that already in the One Piece one. It doesn't matter. But yeah, see, with me and anime and nostalgia, for me, it's really 2012 that I feel nostalgia. Like, I think a good example is my Uncovering Joshiraku video, which is a show I probably would not like as much or care about as much if I hadn't watched it back when it was airing. Because a lot of the jokes in Joshiraku are cultural. There's a lot of wordplay, and there's a lot of, stuff that, and I remember a lot of that, not because I necessarily know a lot about Japan, though I do know more about it now than I did then, but because I was following the 4chan threads as it was going. Because Joshiraku didn't get official translation, and most fan subbers weren't doing it because it would be difficult to actually subtitle because, again, of the cultural jokes. And the one person who was translating it was doing it as a personal challenge. And so, like, going back to it and being able to, like, recognize where the translation was taking liberties, remembering the jokes that were kind of weird and being explained in those 4chan threads. Like, I don't think anyone... I'm not going to say, like, no one can enjoy Joshiraku as much as me, but I wouldn't expect the average person to just watch it and also enjoy it as much as me, because I have a little extra context there, so maybe I should have rethought that when doing the video. I do still like the show, but, of course, anyone who knows more about Japan than me is going to have a higher chance to enjoy it. But, and maybe, I don't know, and there's aspects to its humor that are multicultural, like slapstick always works. Doesn't matter what country in slapstick, well, except when it doesn't. So yeah, my enjoyment of Joshiraku is kind of personal in a way, both from personal experience and for nostalgia reasons from 2012. So, to start going through the seasonal list, because yeah, in winter I didn't watch anything except Daily Lives of High School Boys, because I would have had to just catch up on these shows like right. I mean, I did go back and watch like Monogatari. Apparently, Nisa Monogatari was airing then. Thermai Romai. Okay. Yeah, and there's other shows I recognize, but not ones I'd actually watched. There's Rini no Lagrange, which I didn't watch because it was winter 2012. I watched it because season 2 aired in summer 2012. And I liked Lagrange, or at least I liked season 1. It was just a slice of life mecha show, and I thought it was pretty cool. and season 2 turned it into more of a space opera kind of deal, and I kind of lost interest. Though it also might have been because I was watching it weekly, because I was watching weekly. Like a lot of these shows I watched weekly, so, but I guess to go through other ones I remember, like, so let's see, Spring. Spring had Kore wa Zombie Desu Ka of the second season, I think, which, it's fine. I guess it had some moments. Jormungand. I remember that one. That was, like, guns and, the crazy white-haired lady. I don't remember some of these shows very well. Oh, Eureka 7 AO, Astral Ocean. Eureka 7 was good. I got to watch that. AO, not so much. Oh my god, AKB 0048. That show was way better than it had any right to be. It kind of had the same issue as Lagrange, where the second season was more of a space opera thing, and I wasn't as into it. But season 1 was great. I want to rewatch it now. Lupin the Third, Mina Fujiko. That was my first experience with Lupin. Probably not a good first experience with Lupin, but I'm curious about rewatching it, especially now that I know the series and characters better, even if I've only just watched the part 4 that aired in 2015. And I only watched that recently too. Though I've seen some of the movies and stuff. And then Ozma. Ozma was like a 6-episode OVA that adapted I think it was like a leftover Leiji Masumoto script, so same guy who was Galaxy Express 9, or no. Yeah, something like that. Ozma was not very good. And of course, I saved it for last, motherfucking Space Brothers. Like, I think Uchu Kyodai Space Brothers was sort of like, that's the one show I think of when I think about airing anime, because it was 99 episodes long. And I started it in 2012, so it was one of the first seasonal shows I'd watched when it was just started, and I stuck with it for 2 years. And it was really good, and I liked it. God, Space Brothers was good. So yeah, it was just with me for such a long time that, yeah, how could I not like it? But then summer, I had Kokoro Connect. Hagure Yusha no Aesthetica. I only watched one episode of this. And the premise sounded really cool. But looking at it now, there's the warning signs. It's a light novel adaptation. I remember checking out the studio and they'd done Queen's Blade. That was like which was like a fan servicey thing. So I had no idea what I was into with this show. So of course I didn't like it. But I remember just thinking the premise was so like conceptually interesting, because basically I guess the idea is like it's a post isekai anime in that like all the characters went to their own, like they had their own isekai stories and then came back to go to a fucking high school back on the planet, I guess, or on Earth. And like I like that as a concept. It's interesting, just the idea that all these guys are their own heroes in their own world and now they're stuck together for whatever reason. And I remember I think I even had the idea to do a novel based on that same concept, because I watched the first episode of the show and it was bad. Why? Oh man. And I mean, there's a further point there, but just to keep going on shows I remember. Binbo Gamiga was kind of cool, funny. I liked it. Yuru Yuri, I guess it was fine. Humanity Has Declined, I rewatched that one more recently. Also good. And of course, I think probably the best season of the year, or of that year, and still a pretty interesting season regardless. I mean, I still remember Spring just because that was my first one, but you had Psycho Pass, Chunibyo Demo Koi Gashita, which is KyoAni's show. I didn't care for it. I watched a bunch of Magi Labyrinth of Magic before just deciding to go read the manga. Shinsekai Yori, another interesting one to come out of the season. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, of course. And these are just the ones I've watched. Like, I didn't watch Girls in Panzer. There was a Bakuman season going. Zetsuen no Tempest, K. Sakuraso no Pet na Kanojo. Tonori no Kaibutsu-kun. Like, all those are shows I didn't watch at the time. But they're pretty popular. There's another season of Gintama too. Robotics Notes, a show I desperately want to rewatch. I'm honestly more interested in rewatching that than I am in Psycho-Pass or From the New World, Shinsekai Yori, just because, like, it's a science adventure thing. And, like, well, because I was watching all these shows as they aired, so I don't think I particularly liked any of them as they finished. Like, they were okay, but yeah, I just don't seem to enjoy watching airing shows as much, which is why now I only watch airing shows if I'm almost guaranteed to enjoy them. Like, with Made in Abyss, or Sangatsu no Lion Season 2, or Girls Last Tour, or Yuru Camp. All these are shows that I've been liking a lot, because I kind of expected to enjoy them. But yeah, I guess, wrapping up, Fall 2012, you have Hidamari Sketch, Honeycomb, and Aikatsu, which Aikatsu I'm only watching now. Why did I mention that? But it aired back then, which is interesting. I feel like there's another few shows I'm missing, like Upat, which is the cute girls are guns, anthropomorphized guns, and the show had a really bad ending. There's a few I dropped, I think, that I didn't mention. I also just saw Arcana Family Gala, which I watched like 2 or 3 episodes of and didn't like it. And I think one of the reasons I'm nostalgic for this period is because I knew nothing, right, really about like anime and current trends and stuff. So I would end up watching like all the like a lot of those shows you probably haven't heard of, and there's a bunch of more popular stuff that I just straight up missed during this time period. And I was just so much more willing to try things, and I kind of miss that sometimes. Like I'm so far behind on my seasonal anime, but even then with the seasonal anime, I usually pick ones that I hear a lot of discussion about or that look interesting. Like a lot of these shows that I watched back then, like if 2012 was this year, like there's so many shows I wouldn't even bother with, and there's so many shows I missed that I would check out. Like I missed Sakamichi no Apollon, Kids on the Slope. I probably would have watched the fuck out of that, but instead I missed it just because it didn't look too. I don't know. It's just other things looked more interesting, And I do feel like I remember watching Is This a Zombie? Mine Fujiko and Upat around the same time. That sort of allowed me to sort of lay out my feelings on fan service, kind of, which I'm not sure if I've kept all of them, but I just remember, sort of taking prior misconceptions and just sort of readdressing them, opening up my mind to the possible, because the thing is, I thought anime was just subpar to manga for so long, and then I discovered seasonal anime, and I'm like, oh, and then, but I guess the last point to make on seasonal anime, so, I was glad to be able to be open to new things, and, even if I don't like a lot of these shows, or not very much, I still have some fondness for them because, I tried, I gave them the honest effort, when nowadays I might be more cynical and just not even bother. But, I wasn't only watching seasonal shows, I had another recommendation chart that I was going to go row by row and just watch everything. Except this one I did even worse on because I only watched the first row to completion. It's also in the description. Evangelion, I liked it. Cowboy Bebop was hard for me to get into, which is weird to think. But because I watched the first 3 episodes, I did not like Spike at all. Honestly, I thought the show was kind of boring. And I gave it another shot later. I did end up finishing it. I thought it was alright. I'd probably at least appreciate the direction more now, just because it's Shinichiro Watanabe. I mean, I'm not going to fault anyone for liking it. It just wasn't nearly as important to me as it has been to a lot of people. And again, maybe I'll like it a lot more when I rewatch it. Who knows? Outlaw Star. The last third of Outlaw Star is actually alright. I remember having a lot of good episodes. The build up to that point was a fucking slog. There was 1 or 2 notably good episodes, but otherwise it just felt like I don't know. It kind of what's her face? The girl with the sword, so fucking boring. Remember thinking the cat girl was kind of annoying sometimes. I like the kid better than most of the characters, and their AI robot, a Gillen or something like that. He was my favorite character in this show, and I'm like, well, this isn't doing it for me. But if I forced myself to finish it anyway, and I'm glad I did because the last third of the show is good. But yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why it gets lumped in with those Toonami classics. I guess because Big O, I also didn't care for. Those are the ones I remember for some reason. Cowboy Bebop's my favorite, 7 out of 10. I was never, I was never much of a Toonami guy, I guess. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex I really liked. Legend of Galactic Heroes is one of my favorite shows. I should really rewatch it. It's only been 5 years. Kaiji's interesting when I say I like it because it feels like, did I mention? Yeah, I mentioned this in my anime 3x3 video because it's sort of it felt like the pinnacle of a genre I'd liked for years. I liked Yu-Gi-Oh! I liked Liar Game. These conflicts revolving around mechanics and games and cards. And so Kaiji feels like, I'd still think it's definitely one of the best ones in that genre. I'm really curious as to about one-outs and Gamblefish. I don't think they're as well liked as Kaiji. I just want to see more of the genre because there is a bit more I haven't seen, but Kaiji's really good. And I really like the anime. Utena. Utena was weird. I'd probably appreciate it a bit more now, but, I didn't hate it. Visions of Escaflowne, or Escaflowne, I don't know how to pronounce it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was that good. I mean, well, thinking back, like, I mostly remember, like, the fucking awesome look, like, the fucking mechs were so beautiful! Like, this is TV animation, and it's just, goddamn. I don't remember much else, honestly. I remember my favorite character was Diliandio. I'm not gonna fucking pronounce his name. I could probably barely pronounce it then. But yeah, like, my favorite character was the villain, so that's, not always a great sign. Oh, the fucking cat! What is with annoying cat girls in these fucking 90s shows? Because the one in fucking Escaflowne was much worse than the Outlaw Star one. I hated her. Keep in mind, this is 2012, so I wasn't that young. Infinite Revice. I rewatched this one for a video I did, because I still really like the show. Like, the Infinite Revice is like, if it just had like a little better production quality, it would probably be a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, that's the only thing holding it back. I still like, I find the conflict really interesting. I find the characters good, generally. Like, it's a good show. I love it. I do like Revice a lot. Dot Hack Sign, I thought it was boring. I don't have strong feelings on it. I just forced myself to finish it. Kara no Kyokai, that was a fun week, I remember, because there's like 7 movies, so I thought, well, I'll watch one a night. And, I liked them. Like, Kara no Kyokai was good. I liked it. But yeah, again, there's a bunch of stuff on here that I've already watched. And honestly, these two charts are just good sort of like, because these are old charts. I was watching these in 2012. So that means that this is what the anime and manga fan base were enjoying, like, at the time period. So you got all these shows, like, mid-2000s shows that nowadays people might not care quite as much about. Like, tons of stuff that I just haven't fucking, like, really heard anyone mention. And a lot of classics, too. So, I just, there's value to be had in just unbiased watching. And I feel like a recommendation chart is a bit stronger of a grounds to go on than a seasonal chart. Because a seasonal chart is completely random. You have no idea where you're gonna get. Like, you're gonna get such a mixture. You're gonna get, like, good, you're gonna get okay, you're gonna get bad, you're gonna get shit. But at least with the recommendation chart, you have a higher tendency towards good. So I do still want to finish these recommendation charts one day, just because there's bound to be a lot of interesting stuff on there. And just from, like, think about this for a second. Just from, like, the maybe, let's just say I've only watched or read, like, a quarter of each of these charts. Like, some of my favorite things have come off of these charts. And that's pretty good, And again, even if I didn't find a favorite, I'd at least find something interesting. Like, honestly, most of these shows, like, yeah, pretty much except for Dot Hack Sign, I have something, as small as it is, to say about some of these shows. That I vaguely remember, despite having not seen them in, like, 5 years. So yeah, by this point, like, I was definitely into anime and manga, especially, I've read a bunch of stuff weekly. I was watching seasonal shows. So I think the next real change to my watching and reading habits would have been in 2016 when I discovered Digibro and the procrastinators, analytical videos, all that good stuff. Because, like, how that changed my habits was, I was coming to realize, like, because the spring season happened, the spring 2016 season happened, and I went, wow, there's a lot of shows here. This is kind of painful to watch all of these shows. I remember dreading the weekend because there was so much to watch. There was Keysnever, Kabaneri the Iron Fortress, Jojo Part 4. I watched a little of Mayoiga, and Joker Game. Ushian Tora Season 2, Sancha Sanyo, or did I watch that one later? Bakuan. And then there were also a bunch of other Western shows, like, because when I got into anime, I also started to realize, like, how much, in 2012, I remember my friend recommended me The Wire, and I sort of realized, like, oh, anime isn't the only medium I've been ignoring. So comparatively, I never got into TV as much, though I'm watching more movies, and, of course, I'm still watching anime. But, so there was Better Call Saul and Game of Thrones. So yeah, just this kind of overwhelming amount of things to be watching weekly. So, and even the manga. Another thing that happened is Naoki Urasawa's Billy Bat ended in 2016 as well. And I remember I finished it, and I didn't have strong feelings towards it because I'd been reading it for like 5 years. Like, that's how long I had been waiting. Like, that's when I caught up to it about 2011, and I was reading it as it was being, published and translated until it ended, pretty much. So when I finished it, I was like, well, I want to reread it, Not because I particularly like it, but because I don't know what the fuck I got out of it. Because my reading of it was so staggered across a long period of time. So I kind of... So, you know, with the opinions of a bunch of people who were into art and analysis, you know, the PCP, I played my own opinion against theirs and sort of realized, like, you know, I don't think I like watching or reading general things as they're going, with some slight exceptions. Like, I'm still reading One Piece. You can pry my weekly One Piece from my cold dead fingers. And I think what really, like, if I didn't already think that, I think what cemented that idea was in early 2017 when I watched Sangatsu no Lion. And I definitely did talk about some of this before in my 3x3 video. Because Sangatsu no Lion is my favorite anime since I started watching seasonal anime. Like, I like it better than every single show I ever watched weekly from 2012 onward. And so, you know, I think that's like the last major change to my anime, like, watching habits. You know, and like I said earlier, I did come around to watching more stuff as it goes out. But again, I have to be, like, I did start watching Cardcaptor Sakura, the new one, but I just wasn't getting as much out of it from on a week-to-week basis as I might have hoped. So I liked it. I just figured I want to watch it all at once. So it's on hold now, and I picked up Yuru Camp, which I do get more out of on a week-to-week basis, just because it's just that one comfy fucking day and night a week. But I feel like I'm repeating myself a bit. But so yeah, that is roughly how I got into anime and how my history with anime and manga kind of went from there. And yeah, I don't know how it's going to continue, but maybe one day I'll be able to finish these fucking recommendation charts, and I recommend you give them a look too, you know? And just try a couple of the shows or manga, and then you'll find something you really like I did.